medieval Europe, right? Chapter 3, introduction. I said the Catholic Church in Europe had a heavy influence during the High Middle Ages, the period from about 1000 to 1300 CE. The church was the center of life in medieval Western Europe. Almost every community had a church building, and larger towns and cities had a cathedral. Church bells rang out the hours, called people to worship, and warned of danger. The church building was the center of community activity and many parts of daily life. Religious services were held several times a day. Town meetings, plays, and concerts were also held in churches. Merchants had shops around the square in front of the church. Farmers sold their produce in the square, and markets, festivals, and fairs were held there as well. During the Middle Ages, the church was a daily presence from birth to death. It provided education and helped the poor and sick. In fact, religion was so much a part of daily life that people even said prayers to decide how long to cook an egg.
The next speech.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll say the increasing power of the church during the Middle Ages, the church acquired great economic power. By the year 1050, it was the largest landholder in Europe. Some land was gifted to the church by monarchs and wealthy lords, while other land was taken by force. The medieval church added to its wealth by collecting a tithe or tax. Each member was expected to give 1/10 of his money, produce, or labor to help support the church. The church also came to wield great political power. Latin, the language of the church, was the only common language throughout Europe. Church officials were often the only people who could read. As a result, they kept records for monarchs and became trusted scribes and advisors.
Now, for 1260 years, Roman Catholic Church will do power. Say the Okano. Woman ahimfo. Any ordinary people, woman jam film. Woman be dominate power. The power don't be dominate any say. So you hini. Now you're disobedient. No more near me, you know, I'm so true. Excommunication.
Okay.
And I say interdict. Excommunication in say, well, no, you be deny salvation. You are free, a queen, and you are deny salvation. One number, what? Would ye and quite be our baby? Engineer, you are the whole him for no. Interdict, no such as say, excommunication, mean, so you are pamu free Musanwa. Now, subjects and also, woman is free. You are civil.
Wow.
Oh yes. Obi ansumu bi. Excommunication sanity. So we be there. Now interdict no to say sacrament esumu liturgies ni niam a ye no. Ye nya wo nsa asisu obi. It not just say ya bu abra usu. Sa. No ni bia ansu ni ho a obepese sa de we ebeto no. Na ebi tutu ahimfu bebre. Ohini bi ni e frɛ no king friends John only pope benya bibi onu yi obi archbishop in England ho e mo nso kan so onu nso wo obi fufuro ebedani ye ma afi de yes communicating e wi ase obeba be na okosan Magna Carta enu nso ko fa nsem bibiri e di baaye ansana o hunu se de o ye no wa anye ni ye obesere ana King Henry bi nso ono nso so pagya ni mu se ono de oni pope no ebetete ono ni story no na mpesa o kan e wo ha e ma me na go wi ase no boni ni nyina aki no akire o kan so okopa che no winter time o pope ni hwe no ma ona mu winter yi mu saa koduru ha o se wo wonya ba wo de tina ho no kakra ansa 3 days na akoya ni 9 egu forma o ti snow.
Wow.
Oba be papu puto. E chiro 2 million wo mu will at that time.
And we
na say what ni fiti as ni free fa so free baby no transform
yes
e dide be na woni ti
esum na bone awudi kronobo jeko fatu osemafa okay I say popes versus kings. Which one had more power during the Middle Ages? Pope Gregory the Seventh and King Henry the Fourth. Also, conflict between the medieval Christian church led by the Pope and nations ruled by kings occurred throughout the Middle Ages. One great clash between a pope and a king took place between Pope Gregory the Seventh and King Henry the Fourth of the Holy Roman Empire. Henry was very young when he became king. As early as the age of 15, Henry moved to increase his power over clergy in the Holy Roman Empire. Eventually, Henry's actions brought him to a conflict with Pope Gregory the Seventh, who was one of the great leaders of the medieval church. Pope Gregory was both devout and clever. He worked to bring spiritual reform to the church by increasing the power and authority of the popes. Gregory believed that the church was the supreme authority on earth. He felt that rulers and ordinary people alike were all subject to the will of the church and its pope. He did not hesitate to use the terrible punishment of excommunication as a way to resolve conflict of church and state. The conflict between Henry IV and Gregory VII concerned the question of who got to appoint local church officials. Henry believed that, as king, he had the right to appoint the bishops of the German church. This was known as lay investiture. Pope Gregory, on the other hand, angrily opposed this idea because he wanted the power for himself. He responded to the emperor's attempt to name new bishops by excommunicating Henry. In addition, Gregory used interdict to release the emperor's subjects from their feudal obligations of loyalty to their leader. Fearing the rebellion of his vassals, Henry sought the Pope's mercy during the harsh winter of 1077. Henry and his servant made a long and dangerous journey through the snowy mountains of northern Italy to meet the Pope. They met in a small town called Canossa in the mountains of northern Italy. Then when he arrived, the Pope made the humiliated Henry wait in the bitter cold for 3 days before finally agreeing to see him. Contemporary accounts report that when Henry was finally permitted to enter the gate, he walked barefoot through the snow and knelt at the feet of the Pope to beg forgiveness. As a result, the Pope revoked Henry's excommunication.
Wow, to me.
And I have for no.
Wow, to me. I'm into us. Yes, I'm called back to one kind Azano. Or can I say, or can I win it to say, me per se, a pegamimu, Namiet is saying, about the body.
Why Protestants? Why Catholics?
Becoming a free.
I was say the Pope is of so great dignity and so exalted that he is not a mere man, but as it were God.
As it were God.
Yes. But as it were God and the vicar of God. The Pope is of such lofty and supreme dignity that, probably speaking, he has not been established in any rank of dignity, but rather has been placed upon the very summit of all ranks of dignities. He is likewise the divine monarch and supreme emperor and king of kings. Hence the Pope is crowned with a triple crown as king of heaven. as king of heaven and of earth and of the lower regions.
Wow! Me person me pega me mu. I'm yet to solve one.
Hence, the king and the pope is crowned with a triple crown. Ahencha hodo miensa camera no fama yen. And a shaso a bosso miensa no. As king of heaven and of earth and of the lower regions. Wadi ba bia.
Anu ma na mu wie mu nyina ya ni dia. Enu mani neme wa asase su nyina ya ni dia.
You can wa sama mesere.
Empatani. Ne ka kan wo mo nsi ase nyina
ni dia.
Ni dia. Na no difference ya esu wo mu ya ba. Wa bele ni ma kakra. Ni dia no.
Obeja shim.
So ahu. Sana ya me wiase fu hu. Popu no. Enti no. Se sei na nipa tie. Sei na Pope ye dia. Na ni na afi ni ebe hwe third video.
Right.
Jordan Maxwell na ka na se na afi mi di concluding remarks no abba.
Yakoha ya third video, the Vatican.
Yes.
And also the video we chat to ewo ede enkomodie mu. Na before that me fa messages kakra no emfa entwaso emamo. Was say I'm a Christian and I will not abandon my religion, but I promise you that I will follow your program till I die. I'm ability from Sefi Asunta. Okay, ability. Your table. God bless them. We love them all by Counselor. One love. Was a good afternoon. My name is Augustine Semeko from Dunkwao Estate. Democracy is not good for Africa because JJ time there was discipline. After JJ life office, no respect again till now. Okay. Please, where from or what is the source or the origin of that evil thoughts? Okay, okay. You said you don't believe in the New Testament. Why do you then quote from it? If a message gives life, it can only be found on RTV Wake Up Africa. This is the life-giving messages which must be broadcast on other major TV channels in Ghana for an enlightenment of the population. May Yah bless you, great Hebrew teachers. Francis Nati, Udumase Krobo, and Odiwe Ebaye. When these whites came to Africa, they made us close our eyes and pray to God. When we opened our eyes, our goals were gone. Because of our culture, they said one man, one wife. Now, one man, one man. Wake Up Africans. Yusuf Obwase Anodiwe Ebaye. If previous series, was it in previous series you said religion has been made useless by democracy, so how can someone use religion again to control the world? Please, I need clarification. Okay, of abechu kama pa betias here. I'm Kwame Buje from Enzima Tandan. Good afternoon, Free the Mind Movement. Please, I need the quotation concerning Satan reformed. Is it 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse number 14 and 15? Okay, or say, oh man, Christians pastors don't know what they preach about and know not where going. The movement should be more in cities, towns and communities. From Thomas Newton, Yankee, Kwame Krum, Agona Ahanta, Wake Up Africa, and also Debre Obabia. Well done, RTV. I wish I am your last video for the day. Was it the Vatican? You have video no Abba.
But I believe today the most serious evil organization on the face of the earth is the Vatican. That's my personal opinion. I think if the Vatican was done away with off the face of the earth, there would be a shout of liberation heard around the world. Because the Vatican, in my opinion, is the bulwark of this dark thing that's happening on the earth. So when you talk about Illuminati, when you talk about the really dark criminal stuff that's going on in the earth, you're talking the Vatican. You're talking the Knights of Malta, which gave us the 6 men who founded the CIA in America, were all Catholics, members of the Knights of Malta. When you begin to look at the banking fraternities in America, like the Bank of America, Union Bank in California, all of these people who founded these banks today are running the banking establishment are all Knights of Malta, Catholic Masonry. So when I hear people talking about the Jews this, the Jews that, and the Jews are responsible, I say, no, you better go back and do your homework. The Jews have been slaughtered all over Europe by the Vatican. You need to remember that for at least 2,300 years, Rome has dominated Europe. Under the Caesars of Rome, and in the 4th century, late 4th century, the Vatican comes into being, and the Vatican dominates all of Europe. All the heads of state, all the princes and kings and rulers, all the kings and rulers in Europe rule by the divine right. It's called the divine right of kings. What are you talking about? Who represents divine to give the king the right? The Pope. The Pope appoints certain families to be over the French. The Pope appoints certain people to be over the Germans and over the British. And so by divine right. Why? Because the Pope represents God. And the Pope says that this family is holy and that they should rule. And therefore they can now say they rule by divine right. And the whole idea of divine goes back to the chalice, and the Holy Grail. And in the Catholic Mass, you have the priest breaking the bread and then pouring the wine. Well, wine is made from grapes, and wine is red. So it's a red grape wine represents the blood of the atonement blood. It's a blood sacrifice. But where does the wine come from? It comes from grapes. And grapes grow on divine. And that's where we get the concept of the word divine, because grapes come from divine. So that's where we get the word divine. And once you begin to realize how the Vatican has, for over 2,300 years, Rome has dominated Europe, and in 1,600 years, the Vatican has dominated Europe. And Europe for 2,300 years has dominated the earth. So if you want to talk about conspiracies and you want to talk about evil, don't talk about Jews. You better talk about the people who would control Europe for over 2,300 years. Caesar of Rome, the Roman Catholic establishment. There's the real story. Now you're getting into mafiosi. Now you're getting into the fraternal orders of Freemasonry out of Europe, Knights of Malta. Now you're getting into the organized crime, Sicily, Corsica, and all of the profound drug running, white slavery, murder for hire. That
Ava,
Jordan Maxwell, person say, organization, soon, any bonny, Roman Catholic Church. Then Kakoba say, Roman Catholic Church in Zunki, Nifras, see Swa, Gahoto, and a beba,
yes, sir,
a baby, yes. That's a minute of Professor now, will be the message we say religion are important. Young come free, baby. Emra, bon samo no can say, or person pejani mu say obey
Yankopon and Bardiana.
A hobby could create religion.
Okay.
As a vehicle to enable him play God.
Yes.
And to obey no. Wabaya tia say religion biano. Wadwuma ni say wo be ko atia obade it is a wo that one religion mu na me make say religion be impotent if you say you shoe for adia one kasa no wani nyam ni e ma wunya nkuni enti no why impotent
yes
obade mra no wanim ene nam ene ye to atwen memenda ene na ye homeda obade no sikwasi ada won ne kasa ai
obi entimanka
emuyamudi achi enamoko enti yawo bayi na no ama no na me ba masem so dia ba awie no Karl Marx eka bibi say religion is the opium of the people.
Yes.
Opium narcotic drug